I grew up in a region that taught me beer was tradition and left unspoken who tradition was reserved for. In the Midwest, Black people have always been close to alcohol, close to the labor, close to the land, close to the consequences, and often contained by spaces designed to absorb what happens to us. We are imagined as consumers, rarely as makers. And when we enter these spaces, what happens to us socially, psychologically, and physically, amongst other things, doesn't disappear. It becomes part of the social environment. Still we make, we gather anyway, and we build culture in places that were never built for us. As such, this film is a record, a story, of race, place, and environment in the Midwest. Of Bree Smith, who, in 2025, made history by becoming the first Black woman head brewer in Minnesota. This film is also about what it means to craft something intentional inside an industry that has long refused to imagine us here.
My name is Bree Smith, and I'm the head brewer of Modest Brewing Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been the head brewer of Modest Brewing Company 7 months now. I've worked at Modest for 5 years. Before I worked at Modest, I was serving in a small restaurant for 4 years, and that was like the most involved I had been with beer at that point in my life. So I had no production experience, no brewing experience, no experience whatsoever doing anything besides like being a server and going to school for graphic design. I had no experience in the brewery side of things at all. I started out as a residential delivery driver, bringing crowlers to people during COVID quarantine. A residential delivery driver was not a position that existed at Modest before, so I was like just bringing crowlers to people in their homes because that was the only way that people could get beer. Delivering crowlers was pretty straightforward. It was a job. I had been laid off. I was a server before, so couldn't serve people during quarantine, so I needed another job. After the quarantine was lifted, I didn't have a role. Instead of me being let go, I was asked to move on to the packaging team. And I was on packaging for, I believe, about 6 months before I became a brewer. I was a brewer for about a year before I became lead brewer. And I was a lead brewer for about a year before I became head brewer. And that's where we are now. And I had just started my role on the packaging team. So I'd probably been at Modest for maybe 3 or 4 months. And I was talking to my manager at my old job. And we had a weird conversation that led to me ultimately leaving that job, which was not the plan. I didn't love serving, but I liked the environment that I worked in there for the most part. So I was really looking forward to having like one really reliable job that I had had for 4 years that I thought this is going to be a fixture in my life for at least the foreseeable future. And then here's this other nice job on the side. I totally wasn't thinking I would be transitioning into a full-time packaging role at all. And then I went to my next serving shift and was trying to tell my manager about my new role that I was pretty excited about at the time. And he kind of blew me off and came back to talk to me about it like an hour later. And he started the conversation by saying, "So I hear you're a production monkey over there at Modest." And it was like the middle of dinner rush, so I couldn't stop and have that conversation at the time. So when I was doing my checkup at night, I asked him if we could have a conversation about the comment that he made to me earlier. And instead of being receptive, he got super defensive and he doubled down on his flippant comment. And his response to me confronting him ultimately was what I had the problem with and not really the comment in and of itself. After I'd been in packaging for about 6 months, a position for brewer opened up, and I was under the impression that they were looking for somebody with experience, and I did not throw my hat into the ring. That person did not work out, and the brewer position opened up almost immediately again. That time I did express desire to my packaging manager, Dixon, at the time that I wanted to be a brewer. And he went up to my eventual boss, the former head brewer, and like basically advocated for me to be promoted to be the next brewer. And that happened. From the time that I became a brewer at Modest, I also became the first Black woman to be brewing commercially in the state of Minnesota. People tell me all the time that's like a really big deal that I'm like the first Black woman to be the head brewer or a brewer in general. And I do acknowledge that it is a big deal, but I don't feel like I'm doing anything out of the ordinary. I'm just going about my daily life doing the things that I've always done. So it's kind of weird. Not to like downplay it, my achievements, it's very cool, but I am just like making beer. I feel super supported by most people at Modest, but there are experiences that I've had where people remind me that not everybody else thinks it's super cool that a Black woman got a job. The post, I think, announcing that I got promoted to head brewer, and it was a Facebook comment, somebody replied and said, "This is so patronizing. It's like saying, Black woman gets job, who cares?" When I think of environmental injustice, I think of lack of equity and how that affects communities. When I think about environmental injustice in relation to Modest, I think of the owner's response to the civil unrest after the murder of George Floyd. We were obviously closed because it was quarantine, but the owners came to the brewery because of the relation to the location. We're not super close to South Minneapolis, but the whole city was in unrest. So we were providing first aid, minimal first aid, a beer, a hug, a snack with whatever you needed. We had a banner printed that we hung on our patio, asking anybody that had been needing a reprieve to come in. Is now in the Smithsonian. I believe it was an exhibit for the 2020 uprising in Minneapolis. What makes me happy the most about my current position at Modest, my current position in life, is that I get up in the morning and I don't hate driving to work. Well, maybe the driving part. I love having a job that I like going to and I like doing, and I'm not sitting in one spot all day typing. I get to be physical and interact with people that are like-minded, and I also get to sometimes go to Duluth and pour beer for a weekend. And generally I'm around people that respect me, and being surrounded by people who are excited for you does a lot. I would not describe myself to be somebody who is passionate about beer, to be completely honest. I am a lot more passionate about the community that beer is able to foster and the tangible changes that I have seen become reality because of what beer being the center point of my community. It's bigger than me liking beer. I hope ultimately that people Black women specifically can be encouraged by my journey. And I think a lot of people of color see breweries as a space of whiteness, which I don't disagree with. But I hope that just if you're in the brewery and you're maybe feeling uncomfortable, if you turn your head and see me spraying out that mash filter, you're oh, there's a brown woman here. I hope that maybe that just my presence gives people comfort sometimes, and sometimes that's really all that you can ask for, and that can be the hugest difference. My coworkers at Modest, especially my packaging manager, Dixon. Shout out to you. He's never going to see this. My packaging manager at Modest really took me under his wing. I am his protege to this day. He took the time to teach me what a tri-clamp is, what's water pressure, the bare bone basics, and a lot of people are not willing to take the time to teach people from the ground up when they can just hire somebody else who's done this job before. And when I I guess. Sorry. When a brewing position opened up, he fought for me to get that promotion, and I think he is a pivotal reason for me being promoted as a brewer. And it was exciting to have people, specifically like white dudes who like don't have to give a shit, to like give a shit about my future. And I'd never had that before at a job.